In this episode, we have the official Scream Queen and the ultimate final girl from the Elm Street franchise, Lisa Wilcox, who played Alice Johnson in A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, Dream Master, and A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. So I just want to say it's honestly an honor to have you on here, and welcome to the Andy Smith Horror Show.
Well, thank you, Andy.
Yes,
Pleasure to be
definitely.
here.
Yes, definitely, definitely. So what we're gonna do is start off with some basic questions, like I was saying, is we'll start it off now with what was it like growing up in Missouri and just kind of your childhood?
Oh, it was great. It was fantastic. I was born in Columbia, and then we also lived in St. Louis in an area called Ladue. But my favorite place we lived was Lake Sherwood, which was by a little town called Washington, about an hour outside of St. Louis.
I think I've heard of
And
that.
my parents built a house on the lake, and we had our own dock and a boat, and it was just absolutely gorgeous and just it was I mean, the state itself is beautiful if you can tolerate the snow and the
Yeah,
humidity.
it's kind of crazy how that works. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
it is.
interesting.
And we I had a boat too at Lake of the Ozarks. My aunt and uncle actually bought a resort on Lake of the Ozarks and ran a resort. And they built a house on a corner. But as far as actual childhood memories, oh no, grade school was horrible. I was bullied. We moved around quite a bit, so it was always hard to make friends. And so I really just immersed myself in books. I was very much like Alice, a daydreamer. So
Yeah, that's kind of how I was too. I'll be honest with you. It's pretty much the same person. I think that's why it's just like I connect so well with that character of Alice, and many people do, though, honestly. So.
mhm.
And so you kind of answered. I was going to ask your favorite childhood memory, but it sounds like you kind of answered it with that.
Oh,
From a
yeah.
from a young age, really, was acting your ultimate dream job?
Oh, heavens, no. I was very shy, again, like Alice,
Yeah.
really. And I love to read books and imagine that I was Nancy Drew or, whatever I was reading. The first novel I ever read actually was Bram Stoker's Dracula
Oh wow.
in fourth grade. No, it was not on the reading list,
Yeah,
but
I'm thinking. I'm like, oh wow.
and I literally, good night, mom and dad. Fourth grade. How old are you in fourth grade? 10.
Sounds about
Um,
right.
and I read it under my covers with my electric blanket light. Okay,
Oh my.
that's how I read it. So therefore, it also explains I've always been fascinated with ghosts, ghost stories, vampires, horror in general since I was a little tyke.
That's crazy. That sounds awesome though. So if you could turn back time, that's just one of those weird questions. But if you could turn back time to tell your teenage self something, what would it be?
It would be, um, gosh, I don't know. I don't know. Probably would be more, you know, embrace yourself and, because I never thought I was attractive or anything like that. And I bloomed,
Yeah,
and we all
definitely.
have that gawky stage with the braces and, all that
Oh
kind of
yeah.
stuff. And I was kind of more of a tomboy. I didn't wear makeup when my girlfriends were wearing makeup. So I think I would have encouraged myself to be uh, more feminine,
Okay.
embrace your looks or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
definitely. No, that's definitely a good answer with that. So you went to UCLA. Tell me a little bit what it was like going to UCLA, and did you meet like any while you were there at least? Were there any other famous, actors or actresses going there?
um it was UCLA was great. It's a beautiful campus. Mariska Haggerty,
Okay.
she's on that big law TV show
Oh yeah, I
forever.
think I think I know what you're talking about. Yes.
In fact, she and her husband were just on the cover of some People magazine or something like
Oh
that.
wow.
Anyway, we were in the same class actually, and it cracks me up too because she plays a very serious role on the TV show, but in person, she's hysterical. She is so funny. She is a hoot. And I remember us. We had a lighting class together, and you're in a cherry picker, going up, 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 up to put up the lights and
Oh
all
wow.
that kind of thing. Anyway, we had a good time. My first quarter, I became a little sister at a fraternity, Lambda Chi.
Mhm.
I tried that for one quarter and it wasn't for me.
Yeah, no,
It
I
was
can.
not for me.
Yeah,
So
that's pretty tough to do for sure.
yeah, and I was never a cheerleader. I never did the sorority thing. That just wasn't my jive. Um, but yeah, I have very fun memories of UCLA.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure it was plenty of fun. I can
And
remember.
that's how I got my first agent and manager, because I was doing plays. I was a
Okay.
theater arts major, and I did I did one student film that Catherine Hardwick, who went on to be an amazing production designer. You can look her up on IMDb, and it was the writer of this little film we did called Road Girls. His manager came to see me in place, and he hired, I got signed on with them.
That's awesome, though. That really is. So I feel like I'll probably know the answer to this one after you talking about Dracula. But what is your favorite horror film of all time that you didn't play in?
Oh, my favorite horror film is Carrie.
Oh, really? That's one I have not seen in a long time. I'm pretty sure they made a remake too, didn't they? Or they're
I didn't
doing
see the
one.
remake just because I didn't get around to it.
Yeah.
I have not opposed necessarily to remakes always, but Carrie, I just really related to her as growing up. I related to her character very much.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure.
And Sissy Spacek is just freaking amazing. All the actors in that film are great.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I did see the remake, but I don't know if I've seen the original, like,
You need to
ever,
see the
honestly.
original.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That film
Yes, exactly. As much of a horror fan as I am, I've heard so many people talk about it. It's like, why have I not seen that?
it is so good.
Yeah. All right. So if you had to pick one horror villain to be your favorite of all time, that's not Freddy, who's it going to be?
Dracula.
Nice. Yeah. So that's pretty crazy. I can. My grandpa actually loved all the old classic monsters and stuff, and that's what really got me into the horror thing. And Dracula is by far his favorite. He'd walk around acting like him. It was hilarious.
Yep. No, definitely Dracula is what got me hooked. See, it used to be my sister and I would be in Missouri. Of course, you have a basement. That was our playroom.
Yep.
And Saturdays was all about cartoons, right? In the morning. Then the Monkeys show would come on around noon. And then after the Monkeys, they would show all those fabulous classic horror, black and white, Dracula, Frankenstein, all those movies. And I think that's definitely when I got hooked on horror.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, Dracula. It's hard to beat the classics like that. It really is.
They're sensational, and it's kind of a funny thing now, waking up my memory. So in college, the first year I was in the dorms, and you share the room with another gal, and she had, most of the girls had Bruce Springsteen posters or whatever on their wall, right? No, on my side of my room, I had Dracula, a huge one.
That's funny. They're probably like, what's wrong
Bela
with this
Lugosi.
girl? Oh, that's so funny. All right, so tell us a little bit about your first film debut. It was 1984, right?
I think so. Was that what was that one?
Gosh, I know. I meant to write it down.
No, it's an 80s movie, and I'm blanking out right now. The Big Cheer.
That's what it is. Okay.
But then they changed it to Give Me an F.
Yes, Give Me an F. That's right. I was gonna watch it the other night, and it was kind of hard to find. I think it's on Prime Video though.
I think so too, and I need to go back and
you hadn't watched it. Yeah, you're like, oh man.
No, but that was my first. I was sort of a glorified extra. I actually took a quarter off of school, off UCLA, to do the movie, and I learned so much. I learned what it's like to be. I had done commercials,
okay,
so I wasn't completely naive to what set life was like. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Darcy, what's her name? Darcy DeMoss. Anyway, she just had a birthday. She was in it, but it's kind of a foreshadowing too, I think, of my career to end up in horror films, because the film was about four cheerleading squads, right?
Oh gosh.
the squad I was part of was the Demons. And we wore red and black. We smoked cigarettes. We were demonic.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
All right. So, what was your favorite film you played in before starring as Alice Johnson?
Before, or you mean in
Yes.
my career?
We'll just say in your career, really.
Well, I mean, one of my first acting jobs I did in MacGyver, the original MacGyver.
MacGyver, that's a classic.
And we filmed up in Vancouver. That was super exciting because MacGyver was, you know, a hot show. I loved a role I did in a guest star on Walker, Texas Ranger, For the Love of Grace, I think it's called. Really sweet story. I love doing a TV movie playing Carol Brady and Florence Henderson.
Okay.
In the movie. That was pretty cool. Can you imagine the Brady Bunch set?
That sounds amazing.
Seriously.
Yes.
Super, super cool. And I also love, I can't narrow it down to one.
No, that's gotta be impossible.
The role Yuta that I played in Star Trek Next Generation.
That's right. Yes.
I get killed, I get phasered. But it's a very sad story, you know. And actually I'm excuse me, I'm on the Next Gen Monopoly board. I'm a
really?
property. Yeah. I'm known as the assassin.
Oh, that's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
So who has been the most important mentor in your career?
I would say the very first significant play I did, which is Lanford Wilson's The Hot L Baltimore. And we had moved, my dad had been offered a great job in California. So we had moved to California. I think I was about 14, 15 years old. And had a friend who said, hey, you want to go with me to this audition? Buddy Ebsen's Actors Theater in Newport Beach. I'm like, sure. So I'm just sitting there watching. I had no intention of being an actress. I was going to go into the medical field. I wanted to be a doctor. Anyway, the producer of this play kept tapping me on the shoulder. She's extremely persistent. And she said, you're auditioning, right? I'm like, oh, no. Anyway, I finally said, fine. Okay. I auditioned and I got the lead role in this play. And the producer's name was Jane Nye. She was also an actress at one time in good old black and white. There's a show, I don't even know if they play anymore, called The Bowery Boys. And she was kind of like the Marilyn Monroe type in these shows and stuff. So she really changed my life. She really did. And she still knew some casting directors in Los Angeles and whatnot. So she drove me up there to meet some, Hollywood people and whatnot. So yeah.
Oh, that's a true mentor right there. So I mean, you didn't know you were going to go into this at first, so that's pretty crazy to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Before landing the Dream Master role, were you a big Nightmare on Elm Street fan?
Oh heavens, yes. Oh yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. I had the biggest crush on Rodney Eastman, who plays Joey.
Yes.
In Nightmare 3 and 4. But I was already a huge fan of the series. Yeah,
and especially being a horror fan from a young age, it would be hard not to be. I mean, I haven't really met anybody who doesn't like it, so it's pretty crazy. So now we're going to get into the questions about the Dream Master. How did you get introduced to the possibility of playing in Dream Master?
Well, excuse me. I graduated from UCLA, and about a month after I graduated, I actually was working on General Hospital. I got a recurring role on General Hospital and whatnot. And I had the agent and manager from my work I'd done at UCLA. And so my manager said he had submitted me for the role of Alice Johnson, or I don't even know which role, but he'd submitted me for Nightmare on Elm Street 4. But they wouldn't see me. Wow. And then it turned out they were considering for Alice, but see, you have to understand, I finally did start wearing makeup, and I had platinum virgin nut colored platinum blonde hair, the 80s makeup, the whole thing. So my headshot, I looked like a cheerleader, beauty queen kind of person, right? So that is definitely not how you would imagine Alice. So they wouldn't audition. So about a month goes by, and my manager says, guess what? You get to audition. And Annette Benson, who was the casting director, she told me that they literally auditioned hundreds of actresses for the role of Alice, and they just couldn't find their Alice. So finally, I got my opportunity in the reject pile, and I went in with like dirty hair, no makeup. I wore my worst color, pale yellow, and auditioned. I had a callback on a Friday. I was getting married that Sunday, huge 150 people wedding.
Wow.
And it was on my honeymoon when I learned that I got the role of Alice.
Wow. So once you got that role, how long was it until you actually started filming? Like once they called you and told you?
Oh, let's see. I got married on April 15th, and we started filming on April 27th.
Wow. Okay.
Which was my birthday.
That's awesome too, though. Yeah, they were not playing around. Yeah, that's
no,
they impressive.
were down. They had everyone else cast. They just they hadn't found their Alice yet.
That's crazy to think. Like hundreds of people. That's a lot of people going in there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. In fact, I'm going to be talking to Annette Benson today. I recently moved to Nevada, and she lives here. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I wondered if you lived in
lunch.
California or you're living in. I thought I'd heard in one of the interviews you were living in Nevada, and I love that place. It's awesome. Are you pretty close to Vegas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but just far enough away.
yeah. I've been there two or three times now. We went on my 21st birthday, and it's like you got to get away after a couple days. It'd be hard to live in the heart of it, you know?
No, I don't live in the heart. I live in the burbs, as they say, but I'm 20, 30 minutes away from the action. So it's great.
It's so much fun. It really is. So who was the first friend you made on the set of Dream Master?
First friend, probably Robert Englund.
Really?
Yeah. When I got the role, they asked me to dye my hair. And I said, well, can we just do a rinse? So they said, sure. But that rinse had to be put on my hair every single morning in the makeup trailer. And of course, Robert Englund is getting his makeup done forever, hours, right?
Yeah.
So I would say Robert Englund was my first friend. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. And he's just, we'll get into some more about him here in a minute, but what was your relationship like with Rennie Harlan?
Oh, Rennie was great. I would call him an actor's director because he really did want to listen to our thoughts, and he believed in doing read-throughs, doing a table read, which unfortunately I didn't get to participate in because I was off in Hawaii on my honeymoon.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But I did come back early from the honeymoon. But yeah, he was very approachable. He was not a screamer. There's a phrase that goes around regarding directors. Is he a screamer? He's not a screamer at all. There's a scene, and I guess what I mean about approachable is there was a scene in the diner, the Crave Inn, and so I'm in my waitress, outfit, and I'm figuring out what, as an actor, I'm going to do for my busy work where the scene's taking place, and I'm like, I'm going to polish silverware. So I picked up some forks, and I'm polishing them, and there was this fantastic shadow happening on the wall. Right. And I'm like, Rennie, look at this. This is so cool. And he goes, and he takes the forks and puts the knives in my hand. So it's a real quick second, but it's a shadow. It looks like Freddy's glove with the knives on the wall.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So in other words, he's someone you could just invite over, share ideas. You know what I mean? So. Yeah.
Exactly. And that seems so important to me, is that, I don't know, it'd be hard to work with somebody who's not open to your ideas as an actor, actress, it'd be pretty tough.
Yeah.
All right. So did you ever really meet Bob Shea or, have much of a relationship with him?
I did meet him because he plays the teacher.
That's right. He does, doesn't he?
Uh-huh. And I think I don't know if he did that for all the Nightmare movies where he wrote himself. He liked to do a little cameo. And And then we sat next to each other when we watched the screening of Nightmare 5. But then after that, no, I didn't see him for years and years and years. Same with Rennie Harlan, didn't see him for years and years and years. But about 3 years ago, there was a screening of Nightmare 4 in Hollywood at the Chinese theater, the Grauman Theater.
Gosh.
And Rennie flew in from China because he's been directing out there. Though I think now he's in Bulgaria. And Bob Shea came and a lot of the Nightmare 4 cast. And oh my gosh, it was a fantastic reunion. When Rennie and I saw each other, we like started to cry.
Yeah, that's no, I'm sure that was amazing. That sounds, I wish I could have been there. I'm sure everybody would want to be there at that. So you kind of were talking about Robert. What was your first interaction like with him?
It was he's just a down to earth. I mean, he's totally cool. He's very incredibly intelligent. He has so many stories, Hollywood stories, and you can't believe it. I mean, he's just met so many people that, he was roommates with, and then they became famous, like Mark Hamill, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's just quite a raconteur, and we all do love listening to his stories.
Yes, he has so many. I know I'd done the cameo with him, and it was like he just had talking about all the people that he had met and talked to, like John Saxon, Mark Hamill, all those people, and it's like the list of people and just the knowledge he has is crazy. It is.
Have you read his book?
I actually have it right there. I'm like,
oh, do you?
Maybe 20 or 30 pages in. I just started reading it the other night.
Yeah.
And it's really good so far. It takes me a lot to get into a book. When it comes to Elm Street, though, I'm gonna read it. So, yep. All right. So, was there ever a moment on set that you felt you actually got scared?
Not scared of Freddy, no way, because literally, we're in the makeup trailer and they're putting on his face and we're talking. I remember one time he's remodeling his bathroom and we were talking about grout color. Okay. And he looks like, and he's, coming together as Freddy. So I was never afraid. The only time I got kind of nervous was Nightmare 5, the shower. And they built this capsule just so it could fill up with water. But I'm in that.
That's right.
But there's there's lighting above, right? And I'm like, oh boy, I hope those lights have their safety chain, because those lights, they have a safety wire thing, and I just like, I hope those are on, because if one of those lights falls into the water, I'm toast.
Yes, that's such an interesting scene. I really wondered how that was filmed, but that sounds pretty cool. So what was the favorite scene that you filmed in Dream Master?
I think I love all the stuff in the church scene. I love the production value of the church. I mean, it was just so well done with that huge stained glass window, and it was very gothic and dramatic, and so I love that set. But my favorite scene really is the one when Dad comes home drunk,
right? And
my line is like, well, we waited as usual, and I serve him a salad, and then he says, what am I, a rabbit? And he don't know, right? And then Alice goes into daydream land, right, and slams that bowl and, stop taking it out on me, kind of thing. I love that scene. I love that scene.
Yeah. And it's kind of weird how he changed. I don't know what really, but he changed so much from your dad in the movie, changed so much from Dream Master to Dream Child. It was like
because
really
he got
angry.
sober.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it really does. So
he got sober, and all of a sudden,
it's like, oh, okay,
he's
nice
a changed man.
Yes, that's exactly right. So the theater scene is probably one of my favorites, and it really still holds up to this day. How was that filmed? I mean, it's kind of probably hard to answer that exactly, but it's just really impressive.
Well, Nick Strawn, who was the production designer for Nightmare on Elm Street 4, he also has a book called Behind the Screens, where he talks about how many of the scenes were done, and the theater one, he said, was by far the most complex. there were like 11 different setups to make that scene come together.
Wow.
We did film in a real theater, the Rialto in Pasadena, California. And there's the scene where all of a sudden the wind is blowing and I turn around and I'm gripping the railing, and then I'm released and flying to the screen. So just that part on the railing, they built basically this gurney on wheels, basically. So I'm laying on my stomach, and then when I release, they're pulling me back, laying flat down on this table thing.
Wow.
so that part, and then as far as the actual flying into the screen, I have no idea how they did that, but it looks impeccable, right?
Yes,
I mean,
it does. It does. It
yeah.
really does.
And then of course, one of the setups is we're actually at the Crave Inn, but now it's decrepit, right? That black and white look.
Yes,
you know?
yeah, it's so cool.
And they had, I don't know how big, a fan about the size of a helicopter, I swear to God, blowing.
Wow.
So it could blow the leaves and my hair and all of that stuff. So yeah, and there were, I know there was a stunt double somewhere in the Rialto anyway, but very complex scene.
Yeah, and you said there's a book on that, right? One of the guys wrote a book on.
Mick Strawn wrote it, and I keep telling him he needs to make it more available. He sells it when he does shows. He does shows on the East Coast, conventions, you know, and I'm like, Nick, you got to get this book on eBay. You need to get it on Amazon.
So it's not out there.
It's a great book, and he has all kinds of photos behind the scenes, that kind of thing. And I actually, gave him some to use too.
Yeah, see, I'm on the East Coast, so maybe I'll have to look him up and see if I can find him at a convention or something, because that would be
yes.
And
he always brings his books, and he always sells out of them.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, like he needs to get it out there, though. I'm sure that would sell really. There'd be a lot of people that would want to read that for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so as Alice turns into the badass we all know, did you learn some of the cool stunts, or was all of that a stunt person?
Actually, I did some of it. They sent me and Andros, Rick, who plays my brother, to karate school, so we could learn some moves. And so I could learn how to do nunchucks without killing myself, hitting myself in the head.
Oh,
or
no, there's no way
else.
I could do it. Yeah.
And then I had done some gymnastics, so I do a cartwheel to like at least start the flip, and then whoever's doing the flipping, that is not me. I remember when we were filming in the church, which we spent quite a bit of time there, seeing like 4 other Alices running around, all wearing the jacket and the jeans and the boots and all of that, and some of these stunt doubles and stunt performers were Olympiads, gymnastic Olympiads. So
wow.
Yeah, so they were very impressive. They made me look good.
Yeah, exactly. No, it looks amazing. And I know there's one part, I think it's when she's doing the nunchucks, and it's like you can see her turn around, and it's this brown, it looks like a brown wig. It's hilarious, honestly.
It is hilarious.
You're like, what happened?
Yeah, that was not the greatest wig there. Yeah. It's pretty obvious, not me.
Yeah, it's at least it's on. I think it's really only in that one scene where you can kind of tell, but otherwise, it definitely holds up pretty well. So the items you put on, like, from your friends that kind of give you the superpowers, where are these items at today, or do you have any of those?
I have none of them.
Wow.
I have no idea. See, like back then,
it may not have been so significant as like I'm thinking of it. I'd be like, oh, I want that, the headband or the bracelet.
I know, right? I know. But back then, we just didn't think to ask for props.
True.
It just didn't occur to us the value of those things that would happen now. Now things like that are auctioned off for thousands and thousands of dollars. So believe me, I wish I had some of that stuff.
I think I remember in one of the videos, maybe it was this recent Elm Street panel, where I think maybe Toy was offered the when she was like got her face sucked or whatever, the little
Oh
thing.
yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty crazy to think
like the
about.
mold or
Yes, and
something.
like she's like, no, I didn't want it, and I'm like, dang, you should have. I would have took it.
I
Yeah,
know,
like,
right?
yeah,
I
that's
know.
exactly right.
Seriously, and even the at the end of filming, we could order this really cool black jacket thing, Dream Master on the back of it and
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
And I didn't order one. Everyone else had, but apparently those now go for thousands of
Yeah, I haven't
dollars.
seen one. I have so many Elm Street collectibles and stuff, and that
Oh,
kind
do
of,
you?
oh my gosh, yeah. It's like there's some sitting behind me. There you can maybe see the Freddy in the glove over there, but there's so much. I've ran out of space now. I have to get some better shelves
I
to
see.
display it. That kind of brings me to the question though, why did we never receive an Alice Johnson action figure or,
Oh
like,
my gosh. Right?
yes, it blows my mind because I do have the bug girl, Brooke. She's sitting back
Yeah.
there, when she turns into the cockroach. But
Yeah.
I'm like, how did we not get Alice Johnson?
I don't know. In fact, it's been on my list for this year. Of course, we're already getting to the end of August, to call NECA and
Yes,
say, guys, what the heck? I mean, it's perfect because
it
you know
really
how
is.
you would have little mini nunchucks,
Hmm.
right? As one little thing, and a definitely Alice warrior outfit, you know,
Yes,
with the band, with the bracelet and the jacket. And I mean, it would be such a good looking action figure
it really would be. And
because the leather jacket and the ripped jeans, and you know what I mean?
it would be amazing. And
They're
NECA does a
missing
great
out
job.
on they're missing out on an opportunity.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna ask you is like why it didn't happen, but now it's like, or not why it didn't happen. Would you kind of agree to it today? And obviously you would. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. You definitely should
Absolutely.
call
I
them
get
though.
it. Every convention I do, people ask that question. Why
Oh,
isn't there an Alex action? In fact, also it comes up, why aren't there more female action figures?
that's exactly right. Yeah, especially because the way the Dream Master, the group of girls. I mean, it seems like it's weird they just did Brooke. I don't quite understand how that. And that one I think is Mezco, maybe Cinema Fear or something like that.
And
But
and I think Heather Langenkamp, Nancy, I think there's only two
yes,
action
I
figures
think
of
I have
her.
one of them, and it's like her in the bed where Freddy's coming out of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I know that
Yeah.
one. Yeah, there is another one. Maybe it's when she's in the bathtub. I think is what it is.
Ah,
That one I don't have. They get so expensive though. I'll be honest, they're very expensive now.
are they?
Oh yeah, I think the one in the bathtub is probably. I mean, it's $300 or $400 probably.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And
Wow.
I know the one that's with her coming out of or Freddie coming out of the wall. I think that one was. It probably goes around 250 or so.
Wow.
So, I mean, you could have bought it back in the day. Then I think I remember seeing some stuff, and it was like it was cheap. $20 or $30, nothing.
Right. Back then
Yes,
when
exactly,
it came
exactly.
out.
Well, that's something you have to do though. You should definitely call NECA immediately and be like, "Hey, come on, what are y'all doing?" Because they make a lot of stuff, and some stuff they put out, I'm like, nobody even some. It's like some of it people aren't going to care about. I'm like, why don't y'all go back to the Elm Street stuff and do more with that?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Put,
Yeah, definitely.
putting it back on top of my list.
Yes, there you go. Exactly. So
Okay.
my favorite part of the movie is probably the ending church scene. We kind of talked about it. How hard was that to film? Kind of how long it took too. It seems like it was pretty extensive.
I don't remember exactly, but I feel like we were probably in the church about 10 days. And it was hot. And I have and we're working out, there's
Oh
a
yeah.
behind the scenes picture that I actually take to conventions where Rennie is the back of Rennie, but he's blocking one of the scenes with me and Robert in the fight. And Robert doesn't have a sweater on. I don't have my jacket on, because we're trying to cool off, but literally see the sweat on my gray
Oh my
t-shirt.
gosh.
I'm
Wow. So
sweating. I
yeah, it
mean,
was bad in there then. Yeah.
yeah, it was hard work. No question about it. Because see, they have to turn off any air conditioning when you
Yes.
film because of
True.
the
True. That
sound.
makes sense. Okay. Yeah.
Because of the sound.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. And then I was going to ask what kind of props, if any, did you keep from that movie, but you didn't. Doesn't sound like you. Oh my gosh. I don't know how. So most of y'all didn't really keep anything.
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. It's just me how much I love Elm Street. Where I'm like, why did they not? I would have taken everything. The shirt, the jacket, everything you had, and kept it. Sealed it away or something.
No, didn't. get anything.
Yeah, you're like, why did I do that? All right, so this is kind of the last question that relates to the Dream Master or Dream Masters. Throughout the filming process of Dream Master, were you allowed to sit in on some of the other practical effect creations, some of the other scenes that you weren't directly involved in, and get to watch those?
Oh yeah, definitely. We were never excluded from any of the sets
Dang,
happening,
it's so awesome.
yeah, but I was in a lot of the scenes, so
Very
so I
true.
didn't have
Yes.
much opportunity to wander around, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. That's you.
But no, we were definitely allowed to, because there would be like not only the main crew, but then you had second unit and third unit that were filming something. So there was a lot of activity going
So
on.
do you know how long it took to film the Dream Master? I mean, probably not long.
I think it was like about 7 weeks. I want to say 6-7 weeks.
That seems so short, but it's amazing how well the practical effects and everything holds up,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because now some movies, oh yeah, absolutely. That's the newer movies, I have to be honest, that just newer horror movies in general, they got rid of the practical effects and it's all CGI now, and it gets kind of like, for me, it's always the 70s and 80s stuff I'm gonna love the most.
Right. Yeah. No, practical effects rule. They rule. They really do. And you have to realize that literally they would have production meetings and going, okay, guys, so how are we going to turn this girl into a cockroach?
Yeah, it's like,
Okay.
how are we going to do that?
So, and then, it's the great brains coming together to figure it out.
Yes.
Guys, how are we going to get this girl to go through a movie theater?
Yeah,
screen?
exactly. Yeah, and they did it within 6 or 7 weeks, like you said. That's insane. It really is.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to move on to some questions about the Dream Child. Who was your favorite actor or actress to work with in the Dream Child? I'll say besides Robert, because I know it's probably so fun working with him.
No, Kelly Jo Minter.
Okay.
Yeah, Kelly Jo. She rocks. Yeah.
Who did she play?
She played what was her character name? She's the one
Greta?
who. No. What was her character name? Shoot.
We should both know.
Anyway, but we had a fair amount of scenes together. She's the one that has the line, "Well, you're a little bit pregnant."
Oh, okay. Who is it? I don't know what
whoever's going to listen to this podcast is going to be say, "Shame on you, shame on you."
Yes, yeah, they're going to be like, uh-oh.
What was her character name? I don't know. To me, she's Kelly Jo. And also we have the scene in the where with the water, and she finally meets Freddy, and she's freaked out. And anyway, but she was really
so she's Sheila.
Sheila.
Yes, that's right.
Sheila.
Okay.
Anyway, she was very, very fun to work with.
Yeah, I'm sure. She was in there quite a bit. So she didn't actually ever get killed off by Freddy, did she?
She did not get killed off.
Yeah, so there's a few of the females in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise that didn't get killed off. I guess you, Heather, and her. Maybe some others. I don't know.
Doesn't Heather gets killed?
Yeah, I guess she does, doesn't she?
Yeah. I know she comes back as herself.
That's what it is.
But as Nancy, she's.
That's right. Yeah, because in the Wes Craven's New Nightmare, that's completely different thing. So the film really tackled some serious real life debates and issues. Did that ever bother you while you were filming this, or just kind of went along with it?
I call Nightmare 5, The Dream Child, the brave little film.
Yes.
Because like what you said, it dealt with a lot of subject matters that were very taboo. We have sex before marriage, we have teen pregnancy, we have contemplation of abortion,
yes,
adoption, and then we have Greta's character, bulimia, anorexia. Then we have Alice's dad is a recovered alcoholic now. I mean, just about every subject matter that was very taboo. Think of it, 1989.
Yes, yeah.
This is why I think too it was not well received, because of the subject matters that it brought up. It's only now that I've noticed, actually, from doing conventions too, that Nightmare 5 is some of their favorite.
Yeah. Oh
is
yeah.
her
Yeah.
favorite one.
It's definitely
I
up
would,
there for me.
yeah. So that the past 2 or 3 years, I've noticed this whole kind of shift
Yeah. And
regarding it.
yeah, definitely. And I could see at the time it's a lot different than it is now. I mean, we're 30 years ahead of that. But yeah, at the time, I'm sure that was like,
At the time, it was like, ooh,
yeah, like, no,
made you
not.
feel uncomfortable, you know.
Yes,
But
exactly.
like you
Exactly.
said, now 3 decades later, these subject matters are,
Yeah, it's easy.
yeah, not taboo
Yes, exactly.
as much.
So the Dream Child script was, from what I understand, like changing quite a bit. Did that make it hard for you, just trying to play your role? It sounds like it changed a lot.
I just I don't remember. I mean, what back then, what they would do is literally have someone drive to your house and drop off
Oh my
the
gosh.
changes and see, and it's a different color. It's yellows and pinks and greens, and for each
Gotcha.
revision gets a new color, and they literally would drop it off at your house like the night before. Of course, I'm filming like every day, and then memorize the new lines and stuff. But I can't say it was hard. I mean, this is just sort of how making a movie works.
Yeah, so you were prepared to, that's gonna happen, I guess, a lot of times with
Yeah,
any
I mean,
movie.
part of
Yeah,
my
yeah.
job is to be able to adjust, memorize, do it.
That's tough. It'd be very hard for me.
Yeah,
It just takes a long time for sure, a lot of practice.
yeah.
All right. So what was your relationship like with Stephen Hopkins, the director?
Um, he was more of he was an amazing artist. So actually did all the storyboards
That's right.
for the sets and stuff like that. So he was definitely, I think, more technical. Um, but there was a lot of stress, money. There was a lot of stuff going on, I think, that he was dealing with.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a different dynamic that he and I
Definitely.
had.
And I guess I do remember I watched it not long ago, the Never Sleep documentary, I think is what it is. And in there he was saying how I think they ran out of money at a point for some of it. So they really had to cut back on a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I'm sure was very frustrating
Yes,
for
it'd
him.
be very tough. I mean, as a director, that just seems like a really tough job.
Yeah.
So did
And it
you
didn't
get
really make
to
sense because Nightmare 4 did like $50 million at the
Yeah,
box
I think that
office.
might have been the
So I'm like,
highest
what happened to the
grossing.
money? I don't get it.
Yeah, you're like, where did it go? Wasn't that like the highest grossing of the franchise, Nightmare
Yes.
4? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So
Number 3 is a very close, but and
yeah,
Rodney
it
Eastman
makes
and I
sense.
actually bicker about that all the time. He insists Nightmare 3 was made more, and I'm like, no, it's 4. Number 4
Mm.
didn't.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure it did. So let's see. Since everything was rushed in the film, did it make well, we kind of talked about how it might have made for a stressful experience, but you were already prepared for that. It just seems like, from an outside perspective, not obviously not acting or anything, coming every night with a new script would be like, oh my gosh, like what do I do now? Just read it and keep going.
Well, and also we're only going to be filming a certain amount of scenes each day. So it's
Okay.
not like rememorizing an entire 112-page script.
Yes,
It's
that's right.
more, okay, we're going to be doing 3 scenes tomorrow or 4. So it's not as overwhelming as you think.
Okay, definitely. Probably one of my favorite scenes in this movie is when Dan turns into the motorcycle demon thing. Did you get to watch like how that was filmed too?
I did not,
Ah,
but I
yes.
know it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
they took out a
I think
bunch
it's one of
too.
the greatest kills.
Yeah, and this one it seems like they took out quite a bit of the effects, that were too. I guess they sent to the what's it called? You have to send it off. And they said it was too bloody or too gory.
Yes, we kept getting turned down by the ratings people,
Yes.
and yeah, they had to keep cutting stuff out
Yeah,
because it was. And even when the film did come out, there was a parade of people protesting the violence
wow,
in
really?
the
Like
film.
literally. Oh my gosh.
Again, this is 1989.
Yes, it's
Okay.
so crazy to think about. Yeah. You see the stuff that comes out now and it's like, oh wow,
I
how
know.
would they? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I did read something about there was 200 tarantulas that were somehow lost on set. Did you ever like run across any of those?
No, I never
Yes.
heard that. I
Yes,
mean,
it was
200?
yes, and there's no way it could be 200. That'd be a lot.
I don't know. All I know is that they decided they wanted me to get the denim jacket off of me. I don't know why, but they didn't want it. So they wrote in the scene on how I could, you know, legitimately lose the jacket.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
And so they had fake tarantulas, like, glued on, but there were real tarantulas too.
Yeah.
Not 200. It was
Yeah, that
like
would be a
5.
lot. Yeah. It's like I don't know exactly where I'd read that. And it could have
I
been
don't
in that.
know, but
Yeah.
there was like maybe 5, maybe 10.
Yeah.
So when I throw the jacket off, then the tarantulas that are real, are moving around,
Hmm.
freaked me out.
Oh, yeah, that would be so hard to do. There's no way.
And then they said, and then I'm stomping on the jacket of the tarantulas. And
Yes.
the tarantula handler was like, just be careful that you don't stomp on a live tarantula.
He's like,
I'm
don't.
like, okay.
Yeah, I'll try not to. I promise. So the asylum scene when you turn into Amanda Kruger that had to be kind of creepy doing that scene. There's no way it wasn't.
That was super duper creepy. Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
weird.
It was really weird. And that was a very large room set that they had built, but yeah, I mean, imagine, just looking at myself in a nun habit,
Yes.
and then all these leering, dirty, yucky men, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And so there was really all those guys were there. There wasn't really those effects back then where they could have just had, fake people. So that was really
No, they were all real people.
Oh my God.
Whole bunch of them.
Yeah. And Robert's in that scene too, isn't he? He
Yes.
kind of plays himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, this is another one, kind of to wrap it up with the dream child questions. That the Freddy birth sequence is one of the weirdest things, honestly, I've ever seen in a film. And how did you feel about doing that? And was when the little dream child actually comes out?
So what was the beginning part of the question?
So the Freddy birth sequence that is
the
totally
Freddy
messed.
birth. The birth.
Yes, yeah. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a weird, very weird scene too.
yeah, and the little creepy Freddy. Oh my gosh, that is just perfectly
Was it like
designed.
a animatronic at a point, or is it just how did that thing work?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a question for like production, but the actual baby is. I'm sure it was some kind of electronic thing, I guess. But
So it moved
baby,
around, like, yeah.
Yeah, because it did move, but the baby that's stationary is available. A guy named James Israel
Really?
owns it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and
That's awesome.
it's been at some conventions. I have a picture somewhere with me holding that.
I think somebody brought it out at one of y'all's one of the conventions, like in the panels. I think I watched some guy bring it out. Yeah. I wonder how much he's selling that for, because that's interesting.
I don't know. It's part of his he has a huge collection. He's a big collector.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. So we'll start to kind of wrap it up. Is out of both Elm Street movies, which was the favorite that you starred in?
4 or 5?
4 or 5, yes.
Well, do you know that movie Sophie's Choice?
Yes, I do.
Meryl Streep, and she has to choose which child is going to live and not be sent to the concentration camp. Okay, so it's a hard choice to make. But if I had to make a choice, it would be Nightmare 4, simply because it's the beginning of Alice's character, and also just the character arc.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yes. Goes from so shy daydreamer girl to kick-ass woman.
Yeah, okay, definitely. And there's another thing is like, why didn't this happen? Why were you not invited back to play in Elm Street 6?
They just decided to go with a whole different.
Yeah, it's very different for sure.
A whole different angle.
Yes, it sucks that we didn't get more Alice Johnson. We needed more. It would have been great.
Right, I know. And heck, they have a little golden nugget in their hand.
Exactly.
Warner Brothers does to do another Nightmare on Elm Street, but
Yes.
with original actors.
See, yes, and they should. I mean, because the remake, in my opinion, was not, there was too much CGI, really, was the biggest problem for me in that 2010 remake. They need to go back and get some of y'all, the original, actors in there, and that would be perfect.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
So,
who knows?
out of all the Elm Street films, what we'll say, not Dream Master or Dream Child, what would be your favorite?
Dream Warriors.
Yes, of course. It's so hard to beat Dream Warriors. That's it. The group of characters. Everything's perfect about that film. It really is.
Yeah. I love that movie.
Yep, definitely. So, out of all the actors and actresses you starred with in the franchise, who do you kind of keep up with the most now?
Oh my gosh, I keep up. With Tuesday, Toy Newkirk, Brooke Thies, Danny Hassel, Ken Sagos. A lot of them.
yeah. I'm sure you are probably really good friends. It's just like a bond that can't be broken. Yeah, because I can tell from your panels and everything. It's like it looks like y'all hang out every weekend or something.
We are very, very, very tight. Very, very tight. Yeah.
So if you were asked right now, would you play in another Elm Street film?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So they didn't approach any of y'all for the remake, I guess.
No.
That's so interesting. I don't know. Very interesting. Have you heard any news or updates on the new Freddy film at all?
Nope. Sorry, guys. No.
Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Another one. Have you ever had a nightmare about Freddy Krueger?
No. Nope.
That's crazy.
Mm-mm.
I know I have.
Never.
I definitely have.
I probably would have more of a nightmare about tarantulas than I would about Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, it's just because he's Robert's just, once you met him, it was probably hard to ever see him as Freddy, and just you being in the film, I could see that. All right, so just really wrapping up with some, questions that would maybe help some people out. What advice would you give to someone who wants to go into acting?
Nowadays, now, if you'd asked me that question 30 years ago, I'd have a completely different answer. But nowadays, 2021, I can't believe it. Honestly, social media is like key. Become an influencer. You know,
exactly
it's like
right.
you'd make more money being an influencer than probably you'd have a better chance becoming an influencer than an actor, I think, in a film. I don't know.
Yes, true.
But yeah, social media has become very smart. But also, I would just say it's really good. I still very much believe in theater, live performances of all kinds. But have your repertoire to be wide. Go to ballet and go to symphonies and go to rock concerts and go see all kinds of different plays and see films.
Yeah,
all genres. Study the characters in films that you like and notice the nuances that they put and layer onto their character. So it's not necessarily copycatting, but they're like the professor, and you observe and see and listen to what they do.
Okay,
So that would be my advice.
That's pretty great advice, honestly, and it's hard to beat. So are there any projects that you're working on right now?
Yes. Just did a Zoom table read last night of a movie called The House That Eats Flesh. And I play this incredibly demented Southern woman. I'm super excited. And I have a movie called Reunion from Hell, #2, filming that in October in, I think that one's Tennessee. Then I'm very excited. A movie I did a couple years ago in a little town in Texas called Mystery Spot is premiering next week in London at Fright Fest.
Oh, wow. That's going to be cool. So will you be there?
It's super cool. I won't be able to be there, but I've already done some interviews, and in fact, I have to record something for them, but it's a big deal. It's really it's a really big deal. So I'm super excited.
I guess London would be a long trip for you anyways.
Yeah. And who's going to pay for it? So
that's I've looked
and then
at
another movie called Bloody Man, and Tuesday Night is actually in it. Tuesday, of course, reprised the role of Kristen.
Yeah.
So that they're working on distribution right now. In fact, they just sent me like 20 DVDs. So I'll have it at a convention available for sale.
Okay.
So no, there's all kinds of stuff happening.
Yeah, that's awesome though. Yeah, you sound like a very busy woman. I mean, that's great though to be.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
convention wise, I have a convention every weekend until the end of October. So I'm super
really,
happy. Well,
wow.
because everything closed last year,
Yeah,
so
that's
now
true. That is very
it's
true.
become like more of an avalanche, assuming nothing gets canceled, knock on wood. But
Yeah, that's my biggest hope for sure. Yes, that's all we can kind of pray for, that nothing gets canceled for sure.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what's something you would be curious about or interested in that has nothing to do with your career, or something else you might want to do in your life?
Something else I want to do in my life. Um, well, I don't know. Retire and just play tennis every day.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you have a plan to retire, or is it just, I mean, I know you love what you're doing, and when you love what you're doing, it's kind of hard to ever picture it coming to an end. You probably don't have a plan, do you?
No,
Yeah,
I'm going to keep acting, and in fact, as I get older, I'm getting offered much more interesting roles,
that's
and
really cool.
where I get to play evil people, and
Yes, yeah, yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So how can our listeners connect with you online?
Um, I do Facebook, but I really prefer Instagram.
Yeah.
And it's, don't laugh, but it's the Lisa Wilcox is my handle on there, and then Facebook, I think it's just Lisa Wilcox. Um, and I have a website too, Lisa E Wilcox,
Gotcha.
lisaewilcox.com. I try to keep it, although I know it's missing some stuff on it right now, but I try to keep it up to date as far as what conventions I'm doing and whatnot. But honestly, Instagram is where I put, my announcements and
Yeah,
all that kind
definitely.
of
I
stuff.
think Instagram probably is, out of all of them, it's definitely the best. Yeah,
It's easier.
it is.
It's just straightforward and simple.
Yeah, I had to get off Twitter. That's one of those that you probably don't have a Twitter, do you? No.
I have a Twitter account, but I
Yeah.
stopped doing Twitter ages ago because I find it entirely too political.
Yes.
And
Very
and I
toxic.
got and I, and I remember too, like at a period of time, I had a publicist that was helping me, and he would just put up like screenshots or whatever of the Nightmare movies, because that's what people mostly respond to.
Yeah.
And I don't know, some dude said like, why do you always just put up Nightmare on Elm Street stuff? Don't you have anything else to put up? Whatever. And I was like, I don't, that's a really crappy
Yeah,
attitude.
you're
It's
like,
my
wow.
Twitter account.
Yes.
Why I'm not judging your Twitter account? You know
Oh,
what I
you're
mean?
you're exactly right. See, that's what it's Twitter is the most toxic out of any of them by far, by a long
So
shot.
since then, no more,
Yeah, you're
no
like,
more.
nope, not dealing with it. Yeah, I
Mm-mm.
agree 100%. So I'm pretty much wrapped up here. I want to thank you for taking the time to come on here and do this interview, come on to the channel. I'll be putting this up on, like I said, Spotify, iTunes, and definitely on the YouTube channel.
Okay.
Um, and you truly are definitely my favorite final girl out of any horror final girl. And I like to consider you the Scream Queen.
Thank
Definitely,
you.
definitely of the Elm Street franchise for sure.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Andy.
Yes, I look forward to seeing you here at Cincinnati, and hopefully nothing gets canceled, like we said. So
I
I'll be
know.
seeing you
Fingers
soon.
crossed.
All right.
Okay.
I'll talk to you
Okay.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.